what we're going to talk about today. All right, so we're going to move right along. Some of these we'll be able to skip because we did intro, so I'll just kind of go through quickly. Just want to let everybody know, and it's not advancing, there we go, that the ICAP partnership is actually made available through federal funds through a competitive grant process that the U.S. Department of Education, that's the umbrella agency, has their different divisions. You've got Office of Special Ed Programs and then Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services. And under that, which is OSERS, they've got Rehab Services Administration, and that's what VR is funded through. And so this is a competitive grant process through the VR federal agency. And you guys should really be excited to know that Oregon is one of 8 funded programs across the United States. It's very competitive. There's limited awards, and it's really exciting to see that you all were one of them. So want to mention a little bit about who the partners are that are part of ICAP. So obviously your general VR agency, Oregon VR, is the lead agency, and they've got a team of folks that are spearheading this initiative. They actually hired a full-time person to be the program manager. Some of you may know her and may have worked with her in the past. Her name is Sabrina Cunliffe, and we're really excited to have her. She came on board full-time April 11th, jumped right in, and we're really excited to have her in that position. They have other positions that they have filled and will be filling to have a full ICAP team and lead this over the next 5 years. We also have my employer, Cornell University. We're one of the partners, and we actually have 2 teams. One team is conducting the evaluation of the project, and the other is conducting the professional development, doing training and technical assistance, and that's the team that I lead. We also have Portland Community College, as well as we'll mention the 14 community colleges that we're working directly with, but specifically Portland Community College is in the role of not only hiring their own career coach, but also a full-time person who is going to coordinate all of the 14 career coaches that are going to be hired specifically for this ICAP program at their higher ed institution. So excited to have them. And then the Oregon Commission for the Blind is also a partner in this, and that the individuals that they serve through their agency will have an opportunity to participate in ICAP as well. So they are on board, they're attending trainings, and they are going to be part of these local community teams. I can't remember what it's calling.
Communities of practice.
The communities of practice within the local areas. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about that. And I wanted to say, if you all have any questions at all, as Michelle and I are going through, you can either unmute and ask or post it in the chat, and we'll respond as we can. So those are the partners. So today we really, like we said, we hope to just kind of review some of the information, talk with you guys about potential ICAP participants, hopefully help you better understand your roles within this project as YTP specialists, and then talk about those questions and answers and hear from you, informing us as a team on what you need and what we can be doing to help support you in full effective implementation of the ICAP program moving forward. So you don't need to do evaluations because we did that, but I do want to mention you will have an opportunity to meet the larger team in many of the upcoming trainings that we're providing, both virtually and in person. I know that we have a big team coming out in September as part of the VR in-service. So I think we'll be down in Eugene for that, and we're really looking forward to that. And we've got multiple content things coming up in the future that will take place virtually. So jumping into it, unless Michelle, is there anything else you wanted to say before we really jump into it?
No, I think you covered that really well.
Great.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
You're welcome. As indicated on this slide, the vision for ICAP, as I mentioned, is really to help people with disabilities in Oregon gain knowledge and skills in a career pathway that will help them achieve competitive integrated employment. And this includes obtaining post-secondary education credentials, such as possibly certificates, degrees, licenses, badges, or other industry recognized credentials in that career pathway. And our hope is that we're able to support people with disabilities in building a career in which they can grow in and they can advance in and earn living wages, and not just finding them a job for now. By doing so, we hope that they will be able to establish more economic mobility, be able to build or enhance a resume by documenting the credentials that they're attaining, and being able to demonstrate their expertise in that career pathway of choice. And ICAP is modeled after programs you already have in Oregon, the STEP program and the Pathways to Opportunity program that you have within your community college system. And some of the information that I found that I was doing research on that is that they, for the participants that completed their career pathways programs, they found that the average entry level wage was $14.63 an hour. And then they followed this participants and they gathered data on them even after a year of employment. So 1 year, within 1 year of being employed, those entry level wages went up from $14.63 an hour to $19.40 an hour. So when we talk about that economic mobility, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at those wages. We're looking at the ability to live, to be able to pay our bills and have stable housing and stable income in careers that we can grow in and advance in and change in. Excuse me. So through ICAP, we do hope to support at least, so this is we told the federal government, we will have 500 participants, but that's the minimum. We can exceed that number if we have participants that are interested in it. But we hope to help at least 500 people with disabilities in Oregon achieve their goals in their chosen career pathway. And we're really going to be emphasizing outreach to and engagement of people with disabilities who may be part of marginalized communities, minoritized populations, and supporting them in accessing services and supports. So on this slide, when we look at, okay, what's included in career pathways in this ICAP program, we're looking at helping individuals choose a career pathway, which, you know, the VR counselors heavily engage in those conversations with the participants that they're going to serve, accessing post-secondary education, but I want to add in there with supports and a supportive team, participating in internships in high demand career fields. We want to add to that and saying in other employment kind of experiences. We want to help support people in obtaining those credentials that I mentioned in that field. And then ultimately, what is the objective? The ultimate objective is for the participants of ICAP to obtain competitive integrated employment in that career pathway that they chose. So as I was doing some research about the different career pathways within your community college system, you guys have such a wide array of offerings in your local communities that are driven by business and industries in those local areas. And so I just, looked at one of the campuses of Portland Community Colleges just to see like, what are some of the career pathways? And I saw everything from building inspections to childcare, bioscience technology, interior design. I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget, manufacturing, and there's even something in music and sonic arts. So when you look at just in Portland Community College, in that one campus, that's just what, 6 of them that I identified. There's so many more. And what's really neat about these is that they all range in duration. Some of them are less than a year. Some of them are 1 year to 2 years. And that really fits in nicely to being able to help the potential participants make informed choices. You guys probably hear about informed choice a lot when we talk about book rehab. But I may be someone who wants to pursue a career pathway, but I can't commit 2 years of my life to going to school and doing that. I need to get something within the next year. So I'm going to look at a career pathway that interests me, that maybe has a shorter duration. Or maybe I want to do a shorter duration career pathway now to be able to get a job for now, and then continue to build in that career pathway for the future and advancing in the future. So,
we have a question.
Yes.
Is this 500 students within the 5-year period of the grant?
Yes, yes, it is. So our hope is by beginning this fall of 2022, we'll be recruiting the very first group. And we know that it will probably be a smaller group this first year as we're kicking things off. but that will grow over time. But yes, that 500 is over the 5 years. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, and I just wanted to, since I interrupted you once, ask and make sure everybody's muted. We are hearing a little bit of background feedback, just a tiny little bit, but a reminder. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention along those lines is I mentioned before how these career pathways at these community colleges are driven by the businesses in those local areas. And that's going to be a big emphasis in the ICAP program, is working with the business coordinators within the VR agency and the business folks that they have within these community colleges to make sure that we're still in alignment with what business and industry needs in those local areas, so that we can help individuals make informed choice. Because we wouldn't want to encourage someone to go into a career pathway that's going to have a very low opportunity for employment. And also, we want our career coaches to know of the career pathways that exist across the state, just kind of have a working knowledge, because some of those career pathways may be offered remotely. And so you may have someone in Salem that's interested in a career pathway that's offered in Eugene remotely, and they can successfully complete that program. So there's going to be a lot of iterations of what this looks like. Not one person, it's not going to be identical. It's going to be very individualized.
Oh, we have another question.
Yes.
From Kia, will the ICAP program support transition specialists in implementing this within schools or other YTP supported programs, or is ICAP program located at one central location?
So this is statewide, and individuals from across the state can access these programs depending on what their chosen career pathway is, and if it's offered virtually or in person. But I believe that kind of, if I'm interpreting part of that correctly, might be part of the conversation we're having later, Michelle, about how the YTP specialists can help promote these initiatives across the state. But it is not just housed at one. We have 14 community colleges that have signed on to hire career coaches to support these individuals that take the career pathways programs at their specific community college. I think there's a total of 17 community colleges in. So the other 3, it's not that they're not participating, because they are, and they could have people participating in their career pathways, but they just didn't sign on to hire a career coach. So you have 17 community colleges participating. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, if that didn't answer, you can unmute or maybe wait and see if we get to it, and then we have a lot more time at the end for any additional questions or anything too.
Is it okay that I unmute, Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you, because I'm not going to be here much longer. I got another meeting. So no, I just, Kimberly, first of all, thank you guys for giving us this information. I think what I was just, in addition to that question, I guess, so I hear what you're saying is statewide, and that when you say accessing these programs, so as a YTP specialist, right, we support students to go on to PCC or to other trades and things like that. So for students that we work with to access this ICAP funded program, are we going to get like some, I guess, is there going to be like a referral process? Is it that we're directly helping them with PCC, and then PCC is having their career coaches connect with them? So I guess I'm just trying to visualize and just understand, like, I guess, the nuts and bolts of getting a student connected to this ICAP experience and helping them get their credentials and jobs and all of that. So is there a referral process?
I would say not yet. We are like building the plane as we're flying it. So we are in the first year of the 5-year grant. Kim, interrupt me. Sorry, I spoke out of turn here, but and we just got the program coordinator hired about a month ago. I think April 11th was their first day, Sabrina's first day. So she's now hiring a team, and all of these people are getting hired at each of the community colleges, kind of as step one. And then the process, so simultaneously process and things are being built and determined, and that will eventually come out to us for sure. But internally within VR, we're going to start there and build that internally first.
And if I could add, and I know this will be part of what we talk about in the upcoming slides, but I want to say it now if Kia has to leave. All of the participants that want to engage in ICAP have to be a VR client. And so if you have a student in school that's getting ready to exit and they're not already connected with VR, that's absolutely the very first step I would suggest is getting them connected with VR. If you have individuals who are already clients of VR and they have an individualized plan for employment, it would be coordinating with that VR counselor and letting them know that this student has expressed interest in ICAP, and then they can kind of take it from there. I hope that helped too.
Yes.
And Kathy, we're going to get to that. Yeah, I can talk about that now.
But wait, did we cover all of that in this slide? Because I think it's important. Yes. Okay.
It's this slide and next slide. Yeah.
Yep.
So I already mentioned this is a 5-year federally funded grant to enhance employment outcomes. And it is for people with disabilities. You know, they've got, it's not for, well, let me just put it this way. If there's a potentially eligible student who's been receiving pre-employment transition services that is interested in ICAP, they have to apply for VR services because they're going to have an IPE in place. And so when we talk about who we're looking for, what's the age group, what's the population, we're looking for all people with disabilities. This includes individuals who are getting ready to exit high school. So the students that you guys are working directly with in those schools, individuals who maybe haven't gone to college and want to consider college, individuals who are already out there working in careers, but maybe want to switch or advance in their career by going through a career pathway. And individuals, you have youth and young adults that are out there that have been out of high school for a year or more and maybe want to pursue a career pathway. These are all, so the minimum age would be those who are exiting high school, but there's no maximum age because there could be people my age who want to participate in this, you know, that maybe want to advance or change in a career. So no, you know, no maximum age, exiting high school students, individuals with disabilities who become a VR client or are a current VR client or a former VR client. Michelle, did you want to add?
Nope.
Okay.
I was just looking over in the chat. I saw Michelle put something. Michelle, we will connect with you near the end to hear how all of that's going. That's exciting.
So it's really, really important to make sure any individual who's interested in this, and I'll talk specifically your high school students who might be interested, to get them connected with VR. So you may have some 14, 15, 16-year-olds that you're already working with, and they may or may not be connected with VR. Now is a prime time to be talking about getting them connected so that, you know, if this is a pathway that they might want to pursue, and take advantage of the other services that VR has to offer, having those conversations early with them, their families, the other staff within the school so that they can better understand that, yes, we have this community college career pathways program that's going to, by the way, have this career coach that's going to be on site at that community college, you know, 5 days a week to support them and to help coordinate services, kind of a wraparound approach for these individuals that, yes, there's step and there's pathway to opportunities and they help them get in the door. But what's different is these career coaches for ICAP are going to help them navigate challenges that may occur, whether it's transportation or childcare, or maybe they're not, you know, successfully completing a class, or maybe they need some additional accommodations, or whatever the case may be. There's going to be someone there who is their go-to person. They're going to have a very close relationship with that career coach who's really going to help them see them from beginning to end. And I think that's how it varies from some of the other career pathways programs you have. I'm trying to look at my notes to see if there's anything else. So just really just making sure that we know how important it is that for anybody who's going to receive a service from VR, they've got to go through the application and eligibility process, be determined eligible, and have a plan for employment developed. And ICAP would be on that plan for employment if that's something that they talk through with their VR counselor and are all in agreement that this is an appropriate pathway.
Yep.
Any other questions pop up?
Yep. Lynn in the chat said, how would it work if they are a former client, meaning already closed?
That's a great question. They can absolutely reach back out to the VR agency, to the VR counselor that supported them from that local office, and inform them that they've heard of this ICAP program, and maybe they're looking to, maybe they're not employed right now and they want to seek employment, or maybe they want to do a little bit of a switch in their employment, and this is the path they want to go down. They absolutely should go right directly to VR to have that conversation. Because that's going to be one of the things I know that the VR agency is going to do, is they're going to have their VR staff. I think they're going to be doing an intentional outreach to former clients, announcing this opportunity.
This is Mary Jo. I want to remind people that if they are closed with VR and they want to change, they cannot reopen them with YT. It would
Lynn, yeah, that's okay. Lynn, you said, would we start a new file for them to get back in? So those nuts and bolts level training things are being developed right now, and will roll out to VRCs with a lot more clarity than what we will be able to talk about today. So for that kind of info, stay tuned, and more really clear instructions will come to you guys about what to do in those cases.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Some of the other high points I wanted to touch upon on this slide is, I mentioned earlier that we're going to be doing an intentional outreach to individuals from marginalized populations and minoritized populations. We are working closely with the tribal VR programs and the other tribes who don't have VR programs to inform them, because one of our evaluation measures is that we will have like a certain percentage of our target of our total population will be representative of these populations. And so we are, when you look at the demographic breakdown of Oregon, it's not, as diverse as this high goal that we want to achieve, but we're really going to be working with our partners to try our best to reach out to these populations. And that's where the beauty of that partnership between the career coach at the community college, the voc rehab counselor, you as a YTP specialist, any of the other local people that are going to be part of that local community practice in that local area can leverage resources and really pull together to support these individuals, all individuals that are going to be part of ICAP. Let's see, some of the other things we didn't mention, well, just that partnership, and those local level partnerships are going to look different in each community. Some communities it's going to grow from established partnerships that already exist, and maybe, bringing this career coach into that fold, and some are going to be newly developed, or maybe, kind of offshoots. And I know you guys have other communities of practices and larger, umbrella communities of practice that these community college career coaches will be participating in. But I think that's where a lot of decision making and processes will start kind of fleshing out. Like ICAP as a whole will have like general processes, but we want you guys at the local level to be able to figure out what's going to work best in your communities. And so, like Michelle said, to be determined, or to come in the future, some of those things, that the nitty gritty kind of things will be developed over time. Okay.
Mary Jane, I see your scenario and question in here, and I want to kind of get through a few other things because I think the context will help us answer your specific situation in a little bit.
Thank you for that.
That's right.
Okay, so just to remind you, students in high school, youth out of high school, adults, they can all participate in ICAP. And as Michelle, definitely wants to emphasize here is, reach out and be having conversations with students even as young as 14 to talk about this opportunity in the future. They'll be exiting school within the next 3 to 4 years. ICAP will still be around. They'll have an opportunity to participate in that. And I think this is especially a wonderful opportunity for individuals who may not even view post-secondary education as an option. And then when they think about the supports that they may have available to them through this, that it might become an option for them. They might realize that it's an option for them. And so, again, look at your students that are getting ready to exit this year, whether they're exiting high school seniors or others, having conversations with them. It might be, it might make a difference in somebody's career path for the future who may not have been considering post-secondary ed. And again, we already talked about reaching out to individuals who may be current or former VR clients who are looking for possible changes, collaborating with those tribal VR partners, and intentional outreach to these communities, of which, you know, we're really looking at all areas of the state. And so I think the fact that some of these career pathways are done remotely is a huge advantage to some of our people who are in more remote locations that might not otherwise be able to attend. And so that team will look at how we can successfully make that happen. Looking at individuals who might be living below the poverty line and how we can help them access this opportunity. And then others who just may not have really had equitable access to such pathways, to career pathways, and to post-secondary education. And so Michelle and I kind of wanted to pose a couple of questions to all of you to help inform our work. And the first one is, you know, how can we, as a whole, all of us, outreach to the target populations that you've heard us talk about today, including high school students, including out-of-school youth, including these marginalized populations or the rural communities. You guys can unmute, you can put it in the chat, whatever you're more comfortable with. What would you feel are some of the most effective ways of outreaching?
Don't be shy.
This is Lynn. I would say presenting to the schools.
Hmm?
So like, 'cause I know I've presented to the special ed teachers and presented to the special ed classes, the students in the sped classes. So presenting them that idea of VR and ICAP is part of, you know, just so they can learn that it's even there.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lynn.
In the chat, it's talking about it with our students. Gail says, I'm still new, still learning. Sitting in IEP meetings when parents attend has been the best way for me so far. Yep. Sharing in IEP meetings for sure. Tours, Tony. Yeah.
For sure. Michelle, I would say the high school outreach would
Mhm.
be better done from like a top down thing. So if you were to start at your district offices and they could start having like their ICs and people start top down to the learning specialists in the IEPs when the parents are saying, what is my kid going to do at college? It's starting in that meeting.
That's a
They're
good
all being
approach as well.
trained that way.
Yeah.
That's
That
my
is-
recommendation.
Thank you. Who else? What do we have? Creating social media page for students to check out. I think that's under works, isn't it, Kim?
Well, I
Something
know
like
the
that.
web pages. I don't know about
Okay.
social media, but I know that's something we've talked about in the plan. So I'm writing all these down and I will make sure we bring it up at our meeting.
Nice. Okay, we also have those job coaches from the colleges present to the students. Yeah. High school counselors, CTP, SPED teachers. Yep. Public libraries, flyers, presentations. Nice.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
What about a kid who is not able to take some of the credit classes and they want to go to college and they want that experience? What can the ICAP counselor, how can that happen between the transition specialist
Yeah,
and the,
yeah.
because sometimes parents and I will say, well, he wants to go study this and
Yeah.
he takes placement test and can't.
Could you guys hear Terry there? Yeah, okay.
We have that question on an upcoming slide of our question and answers. We've
I
got
know.
that more than once. Yeah.
I know, right? We're hearing that a lot. It's a very important question. Hold on here. We will get to that question.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Let's see what else. Video link that students and families can watch at their convenience, like that. Think about where people and other supports that they might be getting, like SNAP, libraries, drop-in centers. Yep. CCC has a scholarship program that they do a 2-week meeting, Zoom meeting, to explain the program to students. Yeah. So there's lots of many avenues for outreach. Good ideas. Flyers.
Hopefully we can get a copy of that chat after and be able to use that information.
Cool.
I have
Okay,
a question.
Oh,
Is
yep.
there an age limit on this, like YTP?
No, there is no age limit. Nope. It's for people leaving high school until the end of their career.
So the second question we wanted to pose to all of you is, what tools do you need from us to make it easier for you to reach these populations in your conversations, in your communities, in your schools? I know we're working on one-page flyers. That hasn't been finalized yet, but it's so close.
I have too much lotion on my hands. Okay, I put the question in the chat too. Chelsea, brochure, a brochure, yeah.
Brochure, yeah.
Program info that are being offered. Mhm.
Like the career pathways in general, like all the career pathways.
I think, Tony, that's probably what you need.
Yeah, more like description of each of the courses that you're going to be offering in that program, so we can like definitely show them and what's necessary or what classes they're going to have to take to fulfill that whole program. Would be awesome.
Okay, yes.
And we have that link, don't we, Michelle? I think we have that link that takes us to the breakdown of each of the community colleges. Well, if you go to each community college and they have their career pathways all listed. Okay, yeah, we can share that.
Awesome.
Flyers to put up in schools or classrooms, a video that takes a student through the process, one-page list of what makes a good ICAP candidate, opportunities to build relationships between ICAP rep, student, YTP, application packet so we can help them if needed. You guys are brilliant. Thanks for sharing everything. Love it.
Is there any way of having like a meeting with caseworkers or the student management caseworkers so that they can tell their students or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, this is all sort of being built. So I think many multiple possibilities exist.
And I think we're open to anything that you think of that you can do in your schools and in your local school districts. Like, we're open to you sharing it with anyone and everyone, whatever circles you have.
Like a video or a cartoon. Nice. ICAP
Okay.
reps present to students, schools. Yeah. Yes.
And where we are right now, just to give you guys a heads up, there are 4, I believe, of the 10. There's 10 career coaches that are going to be hired this first year, and then there's like 2 the next year, and then 1 more that third year. There's 4 of the 10 that have been hired so far, and we're going to start rolling things out. They have VR has designated points of contact for each of the community college career pathways programs, and in the interim, until all of the career coaches are hired, we're going to be working directly with their, like, the community college point of contact person who would be supervising the career coach once they're hired. So we can be planning with them and sharing information and making these connections at that local area. But everything's just kind of building and growing as we go.
So Lisa, that gets to yours here too, a customizable template so we can put contacts for the people in our area. Yeah.
Right, and do you have a link for today to show us what colleges are participating?
Not for today's content, but Summer Academy might probably be covering that. Yep.
Well, and we had it in the other sessions while you're oh no, I can't do that. While you're presenting, I can go and look, but I've got those screens up, so I can't. But
We can
maybe
get
at
that
the
out
very
after.
end. Yeah, I mean, there's only 3 that aren't. You'd think we could memorize the 3 that aren't, and then we could say all the other ones are.
Yeah. Well, I think I wouldn't be able to do that. Maybe you could, but I think we should probably move along to these questions that we know were already asked, and it might get to a lot of the questions that are in your minds right now. And then it gives us a little bit of time for any additional questions. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to, all this excitement is super exciting, but I just wanted to give a caution, just a quick caution, because we have a lot of passion and energy and excitement around this. I certainly know I do. So one reminder is that this is an all ages program. It's not just youth. So John, just exactly what you were asking. This is for people of all ages and stages in their life. Many of us have made career changes in the middle of, whatever decade we may be in. And this is for somebody in, at any point in their life, not just youth. So when you hear things about ICAP, the grant actually requires like a diversity of age in our population that we're serving. So we want youth to be one section of it, but also adults and people in all stages of their life. Second bullet here, this is just, we're probably gonna be starting pretty slow in fall of 2022 out of necessity. So the manager was just hired, she's hiring her support team, the people are just being hired. So right now, so Mary Jane, you put in the example with your VRC who are also already put something in the plan because the VRC knows the student and this was already their path. Those might be appropriate people for fall of 2022, but we don't want to do like this big, massive outreach recruitment sort of effort for this fall. We want us to be thinking about people who will be exiting and entering into post-secondary in fall of 2023, mostly everybody. So hopefully you hear that. So this fall would be people already on the path to a community college type of program only, and then kind of full court press recruitment for the years later. We're going to be learning a lot. So this is an innovation grant. So it's not a program that we're buying into. It's something that VR proposed and is going to be building. There's a lot of requirements in the building process, lots of documentation required, a real strong desire to do it right so that we could scale it out. And that's the idea, is to make it something that's scalable to other states. Let's see. Yeah, speak early, speak often with your VRC. So all of the decisions about who's accessing ICAP and when will be driven by the plan and really come down to the VRC and the individual making that plan together. Okay, this is a visual. This visual is really meant for students. There's many different versions, not many, but a handful of different versions of this. There's an adult version. But this is really just to help people kind of see that pathway out of school. And, they're leaving, they're connected to you, the youth transition specialist. They've been getting pre-employment transition services. They've been getting their services from a local school district. The next stop, we're hoping, is a VR counselor. Okay, VR counselor, you guys are talking about what's happening next in life. What's my plan? I might need some additional training at a local community college. Oh, maybe ICAP is a good idea for me. What's that going to get me? Well, it'll get you a career coach and it'll get you accessibility services. And then when I'm ready, I've got all my skills. What happens? There's also a plug-in to the local business community. So it's a lot like YTP, it's a whole lot like YTP, but at a post-secondary level. Next slide. All right. And our secondary education partners, YTP, people in school, transition specialists, teachers, admin. If we have any of you here, the very important role that you play in all of this is around recruitment, outreach, and engagement. So just sharing information so that people know that this is a possibility. And specific outreach to our target populations. Engagement is the provision of pre-eds like we've been doing all along, but for sure also consider former students. So people who used to be YTP but have exited or potentially closed that are still looking for something to do. When you're doing your follow-up calls, if you hear something that makes you think, oh, this might be a good ICAP person, part of this process and embracing this process will be VRCs considering what Lynn was getting at before is new plans for people where this makes sense. So, all right, we got a poll, just a quick poll. We are curious. Oh, go ahead and put up the poll. I don't have to read it, but I will read it once it's there. If you were to think right now, like if we were actually looking for this fall, which we aren't, remember, we're really kind of more looking for fall of 2023, but how many students would you have in mind that might be a good match for ICAP? 0, 1 to 5, 5 to 9, 10 or more, not sure, still thinking. We're just curious where you're at. Take a second.
Michelle, maybe while they're doing that, can you field a question?
Yeah.
So Kathy's asking, would YTP be a part of the post-secondary process?
Potentially, yes. So each site, you know how we are in Oregon, we like to build things locally. And we want to do what makes sense, and we want teams to be strengths-based the way that they are. So when there's a career coach in place, and there's a transition specialist in place, and there's a BRC assigned, and whoever else may be on the team, you got your business engagement regional team member, these local teams are going to sit down and determine kind of who does what in most situations. But ultimately the plan for employment is going to drive who's giving which service, right? So that could look common and a little bit more standardized in some areas, and it also can be very individualized. But the hope and goal is that, you know, we in secondary schools are phasing out our supports and helping students realize all of the supports that are available to them as adults that don't have an end date. We have an end date. So we have a responsibility to help them find the things that don't have an end date. Okay, what are our poll results? Garrett. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, nobody has 0. Ooh, wow.
Wow.
Cool. That would be a lot of people already. So that's exciting. Awesome. Okay, next slide. The next 2 slides, you guys, are the questions that you had asked and put in the feedback forms from earlier. And they might get it a lot that's happening over in the chat. And if not, then I think that we're going to have time to get to some of those as well. Kimberly, looks
Okay.
like you want to say something.
I was going to go to the chat, but let's go ahead and move on. And then if there's time.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So number 1, what can students expect to get from VR or others through ICAP? So I want to stop for just a second. Somebody asked a question, Tony, I think it was you, that what are the requirements of the program? So ICAP is just a person that is supporting individuals with disabilities break through the barriers that are typical in a community college setting. So it's not a program in and of itself. There's no coursework that goes along with ICAP. It's not an experiential sort of program or anything like that. It's just a person very much like you guys, but located at the post-secondary level. So they're getting their typical VR services as outlined in the plan. They've got to be in plan. It doesn't change, ICAP doesn't change any of the requirements for entry into community colleges. It doesn't change any of the requirements around how and when VR can pay for tuition. But what it is supposed to do is just help be a little bit more individualized and help students understand their needs and their rights and all of the services and connect with all of the different supports available on a college campus. So that's the first question. Question number 2, who might be a potential candidate? So high school students, of course, that we're working with are students who are out of school, whether they finished school or not, because we know that for community college, you don't actually have to have a diploma. So it's okay to think of these students as well. And then of course, adults as well who have disabilities that are interested in post-secondary education, credential attainment, getting work-based learning experiences, who want to participate in a career pathway. So we're looking at the same requirements for VR. You got to have a documented disability, a documented barrier to employment, and a need for VR services. And then it's helping to break through the barriers of accessing and staying in a community college program. Next, number 3, how do we get students connected who are already working with VR? Talk to the VRC. So first of all, talk to the individual student and see if this is something that they would be interested in. Obviously, we always want them to be at the center of every decision that's going on in their life. And then talk to the VRC about the partnership and where they're at in enrollment, if anywhere at all, how you might be able to help. If the career coach is hired or not, if they are, sit down with them together and say, oh, here's where the student is. Here are the next 7 steps. Here's what I want to do. Here's what you want to do. Those types of things. But remember, you guys, that the VRC and the plan need to drive all of the planning and the services for this. All right. Number 4, what if the student is not a VR client? Help them apply for VR services if this is something they want. So that's a must It's a prerequisite, if you will. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't be already in a community college and not a VR client. So some people may come from community college already and then apply to VR once they're there. It doesn't have to be in a sequence, doesn't have to be in a specific sequence. It's just that they do have to be a VR client to get the ICAP services. Okay, number 5, what is the enrollment process and what steps do I need to take? So if you're sitting in your seat as somebody supporting right now, and you're not the VRC, then you want to connect with the VRC and you want to connect with the community college career coach and figure out what are the specific entry points for that particular community college. So every community college kind of has its own set and its own dates when they offer things and its own requirements for accessing accommodations. All of that will need to be learned at each local institution. And then, you know, you help the student go through there and you divvy up the responsibilities, just like we talked about. Who's going to be helping the student fill out FAFSA if they haven't yet? Ooh, I don't know. Who could do that? Who's going to help with scholarship applications? Who's going to help with those applications for needed accommodations? Who, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Who's going to help figure out transportation to and from? So it's kind of just thinking of all of the things that need to happen that Mary Jo talks about a lot and figuring out who's doing what. So it's exciting that you don't have to do it all alone. Yeah, so that's a team by team sort of thing. Next slide, please, Garrett.
I want to remember that your transition specialist is coach at college at all. You're going to continue working with that and checking closely with that. They may respond a little bit more to than the coach. Hopefully, you know, then you help that relationship and that is a trusted person at the college. But you're not going to.
It's not a cold drop.
No, it's not a drop at all. I think I saw that
No.
on the chats.
Right.
You want to be there. You're still part. You're still your wife, and you work with them till they're closed, and then follow up with them for you. Always a part of that college experience.
Yeah.
Just as you would with a work experience.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Okay, 4 more questions. Will ICAP help with transportation for students who have that as a barrier, especially those in remote rural areas like Southern Oregon? It could potentially. So just like any plan service, this is they're in plan, it's an individualized service, and the VRC will sit down and look at what are the needs for the student to meet the different benchmarks that help them meet the goal of their plan. And if transportation is one of those things, then it can be provided. But, you know, just like anything else, we're going to be looking at is a driver's license an option? Is riding public transportation an option? What other sources are there? So that all of that kind of comparable benefit stuff still exists. Number 7, do we need to get ICAP students college ready first before reaching out or applying for ICAP? For example, like writing prerequisites, whatever. So of course, like we're hoping that if college is a dream and a plan and a goal for a student, that in high school, those things are being addressed on the IEP and stuff's being done. But we also know that that doesn't always happen. So ICAP won't change any of the prerequisite requirements. A student might still have to take some of those like pre-entry level courses to build up their skills. What ICAP can do is maybe say, is there additional tutoring that might help? Or what's really the barrier here? Why are they struggling with that? Well, they didn't attend their writing class a lot. Why? Well, they had super significant anxiety, and it was a situation where they, you know, they didn't feel comfortable asking for the accommodation that they needed. That's a totally different response and support that the team will be able to survive versus just something that's lower skilled. So it's really, we're going to be asking teams to ask why a lot. Why didn't that happen? Or why isn't this working? So that the support put in place can be more individualized. I think I rambled on that one. I'm not sure I actually got to the answer. I hope I did. Number 8, we only have 5 more minutes. Number 8, how will ICAP work with community colleges and their disability services department as well as apply for and access scholarships and financial aid? So yes, local teams working together, but the person being on the campus the idea there is that they're building relationships just like you do within your school, so that they get to know the people in the disability services office. So they get to know the people in the tutoring center, so that they get to know all the people, and they are coordinating these services for each individual as they need them on that campus. So they'll work with them by advocating for, they don't have any authority over. One more. What was the last question? Oh, where did it go? There
Sorry,
it
I
is.
put it back.
Oh, that's you. Sorry. Thank you. You're not running that. You're running the Zoom. You're running that. Number 9, if your career coach realizes the student does not have an ability to pass a certain class, can they set up a work-based learning experience so the student can then work with a job developer on obtaining employment? Absolutely. So again, we want to rally around the reason why something's not working and try everything we can to make it work. But if somebody wants, you know, to, like, for instance, me, say I wanted to be a musician and it wasn't that match for me, even though I wanted to be, my team is still going to say, what is it about music that you like? Is there another way for you to be in the music industry without going this coursework? So all of that still remains the same. Okay, we're done with those pre-asked questions. We're ready for any more in 3 minutes. Did I miss
So-
stuff there? Yeah.
Yeah, there's one I can tell you. So let me go back up. If YTP may or may not be a part of the post-secondary process, because there were some chats going on before about, like, will the referrals only come from YTP? And I said, no, they can come from anywhere, you know, anywhere, any direction. So they're saying if YTP may or may not be a part of that post-secondary process, how will this affect our YTP data?
I
If at
don't
all.
see it affecting the YTP data. And for sure, like, I'm almost not seeing, I don't know if somebody's willing to speak up to that one.
Look at Naomi's last question too.
Okay. I don't think that it would affect your data too much. We want to always be doing what's right for the student. And if the student is working towards competitive integrated employment at one point in time in their path, and they want to go to school at another point in time in their path, we can work with either one of those. And VR looks at all of that data, and there's more, you know, so it doesn't affect the YTP data.
There's another question that says, if a YTP student is an active VR participant and has a goal of going to college, do we keep them active in the YTP database until they transfer to an ICAP rep?
You potentially could. You could potentially do that. Yeah.
There were some
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
Can't
sorry.
hear Jesse, so.
Yeah, sorry, it's hard for you guys to hear them. So Mary Jo and Jesse were just saying you probably would do that. This is not just a handoff. It's not intended to be a handoff. So there's an overlap, just like when we talk about any other adult service, leaving a school service to an adult service, there's this overlap so that a student doesn't fall off a cliff. That still exists here with this team as well. The plan, the IPE, is going to dictate what you're doing, Mary, and what the career coach is doing. And that's how we're going to document that it's not double dipping. Okay, so all of that's going to be negotiated and figured out team by team, probably individual by individual.
The YP is, they are enrolled in ICAP.
You betcha. You betcha. Please. And in these local communities of practice, you will be invited to those. And it would be great if you could attend those if your workload allows, because that's how you're going to build relationship and trust and get to understand what's going on at the local level in the building of the ICAP programs around you. We're at time. We're at time. It's 3 o'clock, everybody. So many good questions as always.
And I was going to say, you know, I know we didn't have time to cover this, but, you know, if there's more information that you guys want to share with us, we're going to, the evaluation link we'll put up here in a minute, but maybe you can, in your evaluation, you know, tell us what you need from us beyond what you already mentioned today in the chat and live. You know, what are some of the things maybe that excite you? What's unclear? How can we help clarify that? And I know there's still a few questions in there we didn't get to in the chat, and maybe Michelle and I can formulate answers and get it out to all of you in a written format, an email or something like that, moving forward.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Keep attending the trainings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does
bye-bye.
your meeting keep going, Michelle, or are you guys
No,
done?
we can, for people who can stay on, we can stay on just a little bit, but we do need to kind of wrap it up and then we end the recording.
Okay, so I was just going to share the PowerPoint we did at the transition conference and show a slide about who the colleges are and then the demographics. Can I pull that up real quickly?
I'm okay with that. Is everybody
Yeah,
cool with that?
that's a good
All right.
idea.
Yep.
I think
Whoever
Let's do
wants-
it.
Okay. Okay, let me switch gears here.
Yes. Yeah.
Kimberly, I just stepped out, but then I remembered you were offering to show a slide pertaining to the significance of the demographics. If it's in like the last month's recording, I'm getting familiar with that COP recordings and stuff. So I can search for it there.
Yeah, it is. I've got it pulled up, but it is. Oh, you mean last month's COP recording?
Sure, yeah, I
No.
don't know, but yeah. Yeah.
No, we didn't present it there. Okay, so I'm going to share a different screen real quickly. Okay, for those that were curious about the colleges that are participating, years 1 through 2, these are the community colleges that are participating. And then well, not that they're not participating, but this is the year in which they're going to hire their career coach. So these are the career coaches that are going to be hired this year, between the next 2 years. And then we're going to have these 3 in year 3, and then Umpqua in year 4.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I think something else was about making sure that we are serving an accurately reflective demographic of the makeup of Oregon.
Yes, so I was going to pull up, we have one slide. Okay, maybe that's not it. Let me go to a different one. We've done like 3 overview trainings, so let me.
Okay, well, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so if I'll put my email in the chat, and if you could just send something when you do find it.
You're talking, oh, the demographics, yeah. For those of you that were asking about the states that got funded, here are the 8 states, but what I put in the chat was everybody had to propose what they wanted to do with the fund. So it's not like all of them are doing ICAP. ICAP is an Oregon program. And so how California is using their funds is different from how we are. And so if you have potential people that are moving to those states, there's a link we could send you if you're curious, where the feds post these grants and what they're doing with them, and you could figure out what they're doing in those other 7 states. Let me look. I know I have that.
But you do know what I'm talking about. It's like a little language along like 20% of individuals need to be, yeah.
Right here. Yep.
Okay.
So these are the major outcome targets that we have for ICAP. And I'm not part of the evaluation team, so I can't answer a ton of questions about this. I can give you overview. I'm part of the training and TA. But of the 500 participants, 45% are supposed to be representative of other populations. And so that's 40% of the 500. Of the 500, 375 will complete ICAP, will attain 1 or more recognized post-secondary credential. And so that means 55% can be non-BIPOC of the population that we're anticipating to serve. And this is when it's all done at the end of the 5th year. That's what we're looking at. And then here's some additional targets that we are trying to achieve. Achieving competitive integrated employment, looking at people who've gotten gains in their wages, through participation. Maybe they've gotten some employer provided medical benefits. They've increased the number of hours that they work. That they've gotten a promotion or some type of additional responsibilities based on completing, if they stayed in that job or advanced in the job because of their completion of ICAP. And then 35% of the participants that did achieve employment after ICAP will report that their primary source of support at exit is the income from their job. And this seems counterintuitive when you look at the 65% figure that they would report public benefits. And I looked at that when I first saw this in the plan, because I was not part of the group that wrote the grant. I came on after it was awarded. And I'm like, why would we want 65% of participants to report public benefits as their primary source? But what they're saying is we're looking at individuals who maybe have reduced reliance on benefits because now they're gaining wages through a job as well. So we can see a change in that as well.
The self-sufficiency model is the way I think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. See, that is, I appreciate you guys clarifying that, because that is not how I read it initially. So yeah.
I know. I was like, what? Who wrote that? That's got to be a typo.
Well, yeah, thank you for letting me have you stay long. And is this from the last month's COP?
No, this was a kickoff meeting that Michelle, you can absolutely share the PowerPoint and the recording for
Great.
this one with anybody.
Great.
Yeah.
We will do
Okay.
that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for setting this up. And this is my first one, so sorry if I stumbled over people or things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, Morgan. Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Bye, Lisa. Transition specialists can always do that and have been doing it for a long time. So it's, and then I think the question is, if a student wants to attend is not on the career coach list yet, who supports them in that career coach role? So transition specialists have been helping people in community colleges for a long time. You could continue to do that, but at the same time, I think we're all going to be building capacity about what supports are available on different campuses, and there will be communication systems and like plugins being built, even though there's not a coach on that campus, to help wrap supports around the student, help them understand what services and supports are available to them other than just youth services that do come with an end date.
And I think that communication with Ricky X is the person who Portland Community College hired to be the liaison between all the career coaches in the community colleges. And that's where she can be, or they can be a support indirectly talking with that community college, whoever their designated point of contact is in the interim, and the VR counselor. I mean, it's just going to be they've got to be communicating very closely until that person is hired. And no, we did not present this. At least I don't know that it was presented at the NTAC CBBI. Was it, Michelle? Do you know? No, it wasn't. Yeah, we presented it at the Oregon Statewide Transition Conference in March.
Kathy, what happens after the 5-year grant cycle's up? We're hoping to build something so successful that it continues to get funded. Yep. Okay, I think we gotta wrap it up, everybody. What a great day. Wonderful time to see you. Thanks for all the interest and energy. And we'll see you next month at Summer Academy.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Are you
Enjoy
gonna
the
send out the
snow.
link? Are you sending out the link for the?
Oh, the evaluation. Well,
Ooh.
we
Lynn, that was you. Nice.
yeah, we didn't pull it up, did we? Can we get an email out to the folks that were on today if I send it to you?
Yeah, we can get it. We can send it out to all the people and we'll just say if you were on then.
Here's the link in the chat now for those of you that are still on. I apologize, we didn't advance, did we? Because we ran out of time. But yeah, if you can send that link out, that would be very helpful.